Hello, everyone. This is Jeff and David in reverse order. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, David. Hello. Goodness,
Oh,
what are we going to talk about today, David?
You're so professional. Welcome to the Roadmap series, or the Roadmap session of the series, I should say, for the CRM User Conference. Jeff and I are going to run you through the thinking about why and how we build a roadmap with Sage CRM and what's in it in the coming years, obviously, but why it's important to understand that thinking and where we're taking the product strategically, so you as a partner or a customer can actually understand how you could make it work for you. Is that about right, Jeff?
That's about right. And I think I think you need to set the scene though, David, first of all.
I'll do my best. So the Sage CRM tool has been around for a good number of years now, and we very much position it as an affordable tool that's very adaptable for all shapes and sizes of businesses. And it's got to be easy to use. You know, people often hear stories about products where people don't use them, they're shelfware or whatever. You know, and that's not the point of this. The point is to make this tool essential in everyday business life for anyone in any business in any sort of role. So we're designing it, as I said, to be affordable, adaptable, easy to use, with the target audience of small and medium-sized businesses. And of course, the big deal for Sage customers around the world is it extends the footprint of investment you've already made in your accounting system by bringing through data, I should say, from the accounting system into front office type roles. Customer service, sales, marketing, etc. So this integration story between CRM in the front office and the Sage accounting in the back office. It's all about giving teams the tools they need to be better, faster, more efficient, more accurate, and a whole bunch more. So I wanted to tell you briefly, before then Jeff sort of takes over a little more of the heavy lifting on individual release stories, about the strategy and why that's important. Now, the product vision, loosely built on what I was just saying on the previous slide, is bringing this modern, good-looking CRM tool to the front office in all sorts of roles, with the big pitch about being integrated to accounts. We do that because we want to give people in those front office roles a great modern-looking tool to use in whatever role they're doing, and also eliminating all the pain that's involved in manual processes, sharing emails around an office, pulling up old spreadsheets and wondering which one is the live one, etc. And it's all about that story of joining the things together so that people can do their job efficiently. We're also spending a lot more time in the development, and you'll see this in the roadmap stories coming up shortly, of not only the integration story as it relates to accounting, but also other things, because businesses have lots of other things, don't they? Be they marketing tools, back office tools for inventory management, perhaps project management. And we want to be able to give people this idea that Sage CRM can be attached and can surface and send data back and forward to any sort of tool, because we want this tool, Sage CRM, to be the center of the universe for the front office. And for you, it's all about extending the return on investment from your account system by adding CRM to the top. A little earlier this year, we did a piece around really understanding internally where we are selling and why, and where we're not, and why, and where the money's coming in, and so forth, because I wanted to get a better feel for supporting the vision with a commercial strategy. And this statement on the screen is something that is sanctioned by the group, so on high here in London, about the product and where it's heading. And they are very pleased to say it's an important part of the company's portfolio. It's a very high margin product, which if you're an accounting type person at the top of the company is important. And because of that, and because of the value it brings to customers' installations around the world, it will be, Sage CRM will continue to be developed, sold, and maintained for the foreseeable future. And Jeff and I are very pleased with this statement because we firmly believe that it services a lucrative and still very buoyant market. That's customer relationship management. And it gives partners and customers the ability, the capability to increase a stickiness. Now, I'm sort of posed that last paragraph there from the perspective of our partners, but it's just as relevant for customers as well. It's about making the product easier for you, better value for you, stickier, and a way of making sure that people in your organization use the product to achieve business benefit. Now, when we talk about building the product, Jeff and I spend a lot of time building stories. They're sort of, for want of a better term, user persona stories, where we think about typical users in a business, marketeers, customer service people, salespeople, etc. And then we build up these narratives about what we want the product to do for those people. And that helps then flush down individual features to our development team to say, here's what we want for customer X in this particular role, and here's how we want that feature to work. That's how we build the story of the product. We then put those into what we call stories or features or some epics, sometimes they're called, Jeff, aren't they? About
certainly when it moves and across from, because internally we used for the development purposes Jira to manage the agile development that we're engaged in, and yes, so features are arranged in epics,
right. So that becomes part of the narrative. And the epics, the reason we use the epic, I think, is quite good. It's a technical term in Jira, as Jeff says, but also we will be developing features that may span 1, 2, 3 releases, which are every 6 months, by the way. But it's because we're taking the product in a slightly different direction or developing a set of features that will end up at a different point. But they take several releases to put together because of the release and development resources we have available. Now, we released earlier this year 2020 R1, and that included a number of different things. And I'll get Jeff to speak to those, but I'll also talk about future releases as well, so that you have a feel for what's coming and how the product is going strategically in the next few years. So 2019 saw us pivoting, the end of 2019, pivoting and doing a lot more around APIs. And this is one of those stories that spans a couple of releases, because what we're doing here, if you think about the commercial vision statement, is making the product easier to work, not only with accounting systems, but with all sorts of other tools, so that CRM is the center of the universe and CRM can connect connected to all sorts of things.
Yeah, one of the I'm just saying, one of the other presentations that we've got on this conference actually is talking about some going into the details as to the how easy it is, the strategy of being able to connect and be able to talk to other products, other endpoints, integration hubs, and things like that. So do check out the full list of sessions. And
so what we'll do, explain this RESTful API particularly, we'll explain in a couple of slides' time, but it's this opening up of the connection points, as Jeff was just saying there. Now, that was in the end of 2019. That was the beginning of this epic story around changing APIs and things. Now, in February this year, we released 2020 R1. And R1, this is the current release as is the market right now, included a number of things. But Jeff, I think it'd be useful just to call out the activex in the top right corner, because that's an important part of the story as well, isn't it?
Yes, and I'd also tell you to look at the conversation that I had with Elizabeth Pina. We've had a good conversation that you'll see there that is talking about the importance of removing activex dependency, and this is taking place over a series of versions. We are trying to make sure that we are not using redundant technology within inside the system. We're making sure that things can be installed very easily from whatever browser that you're using. We are completely browser agnostic. That's the end point. But we are on a technical journey, and it's good to be able to share the thinking and the difficulties behind that journey.
Yeah, because it's, as well as building in new ideas and new features, we obviously have to be cognizant of changing technology stacks in the marketplace and also changing things around security and so forth. So we have to balance our resourcing to both new and must-dos. Now,
and sometimes it's just a question of what people choose to use. Something that uses ActiveX technology is Internet Explorer. That's the only browser that uses it, and that's 5% of our installed base are using Internet Explorer. 69% is using it, and essentially a clear 90%, 69% are using Chrome, and a clear 90% are using Chromium browsers. So that's Chrome, Firefox, and the new Edge.
Right.
Sorry,
no, it's fine. No, that's not a problem. It's this responding to commercial demand as well. So not only a technical demand about deprecation of technology, but the reality of where people are going. Our next release, which is scheduled in August, so not that far away now in terms of the end of this conference, is slated and is called, 2020 R2, and is slated to deliver a number of different changes. Jeff, can you walk us through a couple of the important ones, particularly I'm thinking the things that have been mandated upon us?
Yeah, we exist in a technical environment in which really we have to not only have on our roadmap the feature changes that we want to make, but we have to make changes to support the changing development environment as well. This year has been something of a perfect storm in deprecated technologies. We've had this year it's the end of life of Flash. That would affect any versions of Sage CRM up to 2017. That's when we switched over to using HTML5 reports. We've got an important change when it came to last year, Microsoft announcing that they were moving for Exchange Online, which you might know as 365, Exchange 365, they're going to drop basic authentication and move over to using OAuth 2. So we've had to implement that within the product. That's had all sorts of different library changes as well inside the product. And another very important point is the ending of support for any versions of TLS, which is the transport layer security, the sort of SSL successor technology for the secure interactions. That has now been we've had to make sure that we aren't exposed to TLS 1.1 being switched off by any other supporting technology. Within the operating system.
In real life operating conditions, that means suddenly no abilities to integrate with email systems, which would probably upset a few people using CRM.
Yeah, but it's more than that. It's actually failure to be able to connect properly with the browser. It's failure to even install, because TLS, there are all sorts of registry settings and things which once you're looking at communications, TLS is used all sorts of places because it's part of the protocols used to enable transport over IP.
Right. I should have known that. Thank you for reminding me. And
there are articles about it.
Yeah, I'll point that out later on. Yes. Yeah, Jeff writes all the good stuff. Of course, in the top right corner too, we're also doing things to extend the API story, including the way we make it even easier for particularly our partners, but also customers who wish to develop things using the model, CRM models, object models, those sorts of things, to build extra bits, right? So without having to be extra clever, and also obfuscating code if people would like to do that sort of thing. So again, to pick up on your point just made there, Jeff, lots of good writing about this on the community in Sage City and places like that. But it's all about making the product even easier to use, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a real quick fly through of what's coming. And so that's that idea. That's what's coming in 2020 R2, which is August time. But this screen here just showing you, of course, this is what the roadmap's all about in the coming 3 years, 2-3 years. And what we try to do is every time we release a new release, we will then add another one onto the other end, if that makes sense. So it's a rolling roadmap. It lets us quite honestly sometimes think that not everything we want in a release gets in, so we push it forward to the next one. That's just reality. But also it gives us an idea more strategically where we are taking the product. And so there's a theme of API through here. There's a theme of modernization going on as well in terms of updating some of the older pieces of the product and so forth. And that's how we build the story.
I think it's also been transformatory internally, because people have, and this is the other stakeholders within the integrations, have actually responded very, very well, seeing that there is this vision for what we're going to be able to do in the future, and a lot of management buy-in in terms of the enabling technology to work on the stories around integration with not only through the APIs, but also enabling for ISVs to do work. And they're basically having putting a stake into the ground and saying, this is what we're seeing, this is what we want to do, has been a huge fillip for us in terms of getting the resources that we need to be able to deliver the product that you want.
Indeed. And it's important too, because we take a lot of feedback from not only partners and customers, but other people around the world. So a lot of the accounting product owners around the world, even though their specialty is in accounting, want to talk to us about integration, want to talk to us about separation of front and back office processes. And so we can think, Jeff and I can think about, well, maybe, there's a particular thing like, I don't know, cash collection, debt management, as an example, which currently exists in a lot of back office systems as reports, but could that exist in CRM as a front office process? And I think there's a lot of scope to do those cleverer things, which helps spread out the way front and back office is connected, but also the way the two products can work together. So that's a large screenshot of where we're at with the feature board at the moment. And of course, I'm beholden upon me to say that nothing you see on the screen should be taken as granted, but equally, Jeff and I are happy to share about what our thinking is and where we're thinking of going with the product. All right. Jeff, do you want to just quickly whip us through a few things that particularly customers would be interested in remembering or knowing about in terms of the resources we provide?
Yes, well, make sure that you do check out the help center. That is help.sagecrm.com, help.sagecrm.com. You'll find all of the latest documentation on there, and you can expect to see the documentation for 2020 R2 go up immediately. It's available internally. We have this process by which we go gold, which it leaves manufacturing then out into the operating companies, but they then will coordinate the release of the software according to the integration checks that they make. But so the documentation is available first.
The other thing I think is very important up there, particularly as the product's been in market for quite a while now, and we do have some customers that are still on quite old versions. If you look at the top right corner, the support lifecycle guidelines in particular look like this. And why does this matter, Jeff?
Oh, why does this matter? Well, I've already indicated that you've got this year. There's a perfect storm coming in the sense that, not only is Flash dropped, not only is TLS and OAuth 2 big things. We've made the decision that we cannot patch infinitely back into the past, so TLS support is only going to be there for the 2018 versions, and we've backed, I think, that too for OAuth 2 to 2018 R3 because of the number of customers who are on 2018 R3. Please do make sure that if you've got sites which are running 2017, you should be planning to upgrade as soon as humanly possible.
Practical, that's right. And in terms of planning for upgrades, a useful theme that Jeff has talked about on previous conferences is this idea about getting yourself as close to currency as possible because of the way you can upgrade. Jeff, do you want to speak a bit more about that?
Yeah, so essentially you can, for 2020 R1, which is the current release in market, you can upgrade from 2017 R3 or any of the 2018 releases or 2019 releases. So please do make sure that you carry on through the upgrade. It should be relatively painless. Once you're on the 2017 architecture, it should be relatively painless to upgrade. And there's a good set of documentation to do that. And have we got I can't remember, David, have we included the long tail upgrade? Yes, we have as well. So we do have a surprising number of people who have been using Sage CRM with older versions for a long time. We do have this year this imperative with all the ending of support for things like Flash with the TLS 1.1 standard and the move, if you're integrated with Exchange, you've got the deadline of October the 13th to make sure that you've implemented the OAuth 2 for Exchange Online. So there's a lot of reasons to move up and get onto 2020 R1 and then be ready for the future with 2020 R2, etc.
Yes, and I think something like Flash was a bit like, well, yeah, that's not a major thing. I can probably live with it, and maybe my dashboards or gadgets won't work. But something like OAuth and things like that coming in October, these are stop dead type events, so you do need to be on them.
Yes, and you should also listen as well to the conversation that I had with Elizabeth Pienaar, because we talk about how there are a number of drivers for the development cycle, which include the 2-yearly pen testing. We do a full pen test audit, and these releases are always include the maintenance element to ensure that everything is up to date for all security standards.
Okay. Point made. I hope we've carried that through. It's an important thing to note. All right, well, look, that's kind of the flying tour that Jeff and I wanted to give to you all. Thanks for listening. I hope that's useful. I hope you understand both the strategic intent of the product. It's here for the foreseeable. It's a lucrative market for the Sage Group in terms of a product to bring. And it's, I think, a great way of extending your accounting investment through adding front office type tools, and I hope that makes sense as a concept, so that you can really double down on the investment you made in accounting, surfacing data, surfacing processes to people in the front office in whatever role they have. Thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you very much, David. Thank you very much for everyone, and do enjoy the rest of the conference. There are plenty of great speakers. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye for now, everyone.